All right then, let's begin. So could you tell me your full name, please?
My full name is Soo-hee Kang.
Soo-hee Kang, okay. And are you working or are you a student?
I'm currently a graduate student. I am finishing up my MA in the United States.
And could you tell me about your major?
So I major in cinema and media studies. And basically what the major does is it looks at film and other kinds of media like TV shows, music, social media, and it analyzes the sort of social significance of the things that are relevant in the media.
And do you enjoy your major?
I do. I've always loved consuming media for fun, but getting to look at it from an academic perspective is very enjoyable as well.
Great. And what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
In my free time, I like to listen to music. Recently, I've gotten into sort of the algorithm, on the music listening apps. I love to discover new songs that are not even the language I understand, but are familiar genres, so maybe, rock or jazz. Yeah, that's my new hobby, listening to music.
Great. Okay, now let's talk about saying thank you. So have you ever sent a thank you card to others?
I have, yes. A recent thank you card I remember writing is to my friend, an American friend in the United States. I got sick at the end of last year, but this friend really came through and helped me with everything. My parents had to come over and she helped pick them up from the airport. And she just was a very good friend to me, so I wanted to thank her. I wrote her a handwritten note and gave it to her with a present because it was also her birthday.
Okay, perfect. And do people in your country often say thank you?
Yes, they do. I think it's sort of a very social expectation to be able to say thank you in a socially acceptable way. So I guess saying thank you with a handwritten note would be the most genuine form of saying thank you, but saying thank you out loud, it's sort of everyday for us Koreans. Even when we go to a store and we don't buy anything and we just go out, we would say thank you.
And on what occasions do you say thank you?
I would sort of divide that into two occasions. The first one is, like I said, sort of the everyday thank you that I say, out of habit more than anything. When I go to a store with strangers, with friends, or when I bump into someone or someone picks something up for me on the street. But the other occasion is when someone really does something for me that wasn't expected of them, but they do it anyway. Those are the occasions when I really want to express my gratitude. So I'll write a note or send a long text. Everything's digital now, so I guess it doesn't have to be handwritten.
Okay, lovely. Now let's talk about spare time. So do you often have free time?
I do, especially in the summer. I don't have classes, so I am technically free all day. I have spent most of last week just meeting up with friends, but when I'm in the US and I have free time, I like to just go to campus and work on my essays or read a book. I like to not be at home when I'm doing those things. So even though I will go outside to campus, I will still sort of do things that allow me to be by myself.
Lovely. And would you like to have more free time in the future?
Well, I wouldn't say no to any more free time, but I am sort of excited for the next part of my life, which is going to be a bit busy, and I do miss that kind of routine, going to class every day and working as, I guess, a teaching assistant or a research assistant. I like to have that routine in my life, so I kind of miss that hustle and bustle. I'm looking forward to that actually.
Okay, perfect. All right, that'll do us for part 1 of the test. Now we'll move on to part 2. So I'll just give you your question. So I'll just give you that here, and I'll give you a pencil there too. So yeah, now I'll give you 1 minute to do some note taking for that, so you can write there. All right. Okay, that's 1 minute. So I'll ask you the question now. So could you describe a person who you think wears unusual clothes?
The person that I would like to describe who wears unusual clothes is my friend. She's called Seun, and she is actually not a person that I have met in real life. She's an online friend that I met through social networking. We bonded over our love of movies. She is currently a student preparing for an exam, and her clothes are very doll-like. If you've ever seen, little dolls that wear bonnets, flowy skirts, lacy, like tops, that's her, and her clothes are always patterned so beautifully. They have pictures of, little lambs, animals, or, pottery on them. They're very beautiful, blue and pink. I think her clothes are unusual because I think in Korea, the trend now is sort of being kind of hip and very fashionable, trendy, but her clothes actually evoke an older time, very feminine and girly, maybe even from, the Victorian age, they're very long skirts. So I think she is very unique and probably brave for wearing those clothes, maybe not in this weather, but in real life, I think people will probably see her and also think that she is very unique.
We're at about 1:40 there now. Okay, so yeah, the maximum is 2 minutes. So yes, yeah, good. And do you think there's a difference between how people dress when they're at work and when they're in their free time?
Yes, absolutely. At work, there's not only the social expectation of having to be sort of, not very flashy, be sort of fit in an office environment, especially if you work in an office or have a job that has to deal with a lot of customer, like in a coffee shop, for example. If you stand out, I guess that's kind of, people will judge you if you stand out in that sort of environment where you have to be around other people. But in their free time, people can really dress however they like. I think they're more free to express themselves through their clothing. For example, me, myself, if I have had an office job before, and I wouldn't really wear, a tank top to an office, but, when I'm going out with friends or going on a picnic on the river, I would definitely wear that. So that's the kind of difference.
Yes, great. So now we'll move on to part 3 of the test, so we'll keep it going. Let me just get the timer. Okay. So yeah, now on to the third part. So do you think it is a good idea to buy clothes online?
I do think it's a very good idea to buy clothes online. First, I think there are so many more options. It's very easy to search for what you want nowadays and find a online store that has that exact thing that you want. But offline, it takes, you have to walk around. You need to go upstairs, like look in every nook and cranny of the store. But online, you can just do that with a click. So I do think it's a good idea. And also it's a lot more accessible for people who might not live in a big city like Seoul. When I live in the States, I live in a pretty small city, so there aren't many clothing stores out there. But online, buying clothes online, it makes me possible to find the styles that I want without going to a big city that is probably 3 hours away.
Yes, indeed. And what are the differences between clothes worn by older people and those worn by younger people?
I would say the biggest difference is comfort, especially in Korea. I think younger people are more willing to sacrifice a bit of comfort for their style, which I really admire. I think it's a great thing. For example, they might wear higher heels or more form-fitting clothes. Not everyone, of course, but a lot more people might be willing to do that in the younger generation than in the older generation. When I see the older generation on the street, they might wear very loose clothes, like loose pants, suitable for the weather. If it's hot, there's a special material in Korea that allows, like wind to go through the fabric, so they might wear clothes made out of that. But I guess the younger generation are kind of willing to take that risk to be a little uncomfortable in order to look good.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to be fashionable?
I do. I did not used to think that. I used to think that, it's just clothes. Why does it matter? But then I found out about, thrift shopping, vintage shopping, and how to be fashionable while still, protecting the environment, and also expressing yourself through clothes, because there are a lot more things that you can find in the thrift store that are more unique than things sold in a regular store. So when I find that unique item, I feel like it's really for me alone, and that has really kind of shown me the pleasure of expressing myself through clothing.
Yes. And what effect do you think clothing and fashion has on the environment?
Well, I don't think it's a very positive effect as of now. Of course, as more people get interested in, upcycling or vintage, it might change. But as of now, I think a lot of clothes get made, but they don't all get sold. So that excess clothing, I heard, just gets buried in a desert in Africa somewhere. And there's a big landfill just full of fashionable clothes that haven't even gotten sold yet. So I think it's important for, clothing companies to produce less, not even upcycle or, recycle clothing, just maybe produce less in the first place to better sort of counter demand and try to meet that instead of producing just whatever they can.
Yes. And do you think expensive clothing is always better than cheaper clothing?
I actually do think that in most cases expensive clothing is better, especially if it's made out of materials that last longer. If you buy, a 3,001 t-shirt, I don't think it's going to be made of cotton that is very durable. But expensive clothing means that there is a certain guarantee that the cotton is going to be, more thick, it's going to last longer. So I guess buying something, even if it's a little more expensive when you first buy it, is ultimately going to be better for the environment, because you don't have to buy the same thing 2 or 3 times. The lifespan is much longer.
Okay, that'll do us. We're all done there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes.